Welcome, everybody, to Real Geek Media. It is January 25th. We're here to talk about movies, all things related to entertainment industry, celebrities, interesting news stories, and the media industry. I'm here with co-host Christopher Michael Blake. Today you're my Huckleberry.
You sure it's not Huckleberry?
Right, the controversy.
I don't think it's a controversy. I think it was settled, but some people want to hold on to that dream, I think.
Christopher, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well. Let me ask you before we get started. It's been a little bit since we had our last episode. Have you been watching anything interesting? Have you seen anything good? Anything worth watching?
I got excited for the season 4 premiere of True Detective. So I tuned into that on HBO. I mean, there are 2 episodes in at this point. With the hopes that, maybe it'll kind of, catch me, get me interested into it again. Like season 2 was a letdown. Season 1 might be the greatest single season of television. But, season 2 was a little bit of a letdown. Season 3 was a little better, but slow. And, season 4, it's okay so far. I mean, it takes place in Antarctica, and there's a little bit of references to the thing, kind of creepy elements. We'll see where it goes. It's 6 episodes, so 2 down.
That's
episode
it?
3.
Episodes?
That's it.
Wow,
Episode
okay.
3 this Sunday. But that's kind of what has been keeping up my time. I tried to catch up on some True Detective. That's what I've been doing. How about you?
I actually just started The Last of Us.
Oh,
Yes. Also 6 episodes, and I think there's 9 total, 9 or 10 total.
hmm.
And I know that there was a lot of media hype or backlash about. I'm just going to come out right out and say it. The homosexual episode. I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was very well done. I really enjoyed the series so far,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to finishing it when I have time. And I'm also watching Father Brown, of course, on
Okay.
the British television shows, which is basically just a detective, and every episode's basically the same. But I like it. It's something I can just put on, and I don't have to think too much about. And I really like British television. The Hercule Poirot's, the
Okay.
Agatha Christie stuff that they do.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's so much better than American television and what they offer. But that's just, my opinion.
Sounds interesting. Yeah, Last of Us. I've not watched it. It was very popular when it came out, season 1. I know people are anticipated for season 2. Yeah, it was. I mean, when you're talking HBO, right? They don't miss often, and whether you like some of the subject matter or the content that's in the episodes, like what you get with HBO is a quality production, quality casting, quality direction. I mean, look at what they did at the Emmys. They sweep. They win them all. It's go back to like The Sopranos. It's always been HBO, just cleaning up at these things. So yeah, I mean, you're going to get a quality show.
Again, I'm really enjoying it. I highly recommend it so far. It's good dystopian television as far as I'm concerned. The writing's pretty well. It's very well acted. I particularly enjoy the lead actor, the Mandalorian. So he's fantastic. I tell you.
Pedro Pascal.
Look, I don't. He's from the Game of Thrones series, and when he's in that scene with the mountain fighting, it's just amazing to watch. I watch it on TikTok or Instagram all the time, and
Yeah.
it's just going back at him in the mountain. What do they call him? The Viper, the Sand Viper.
The Viper. Yeah, something Viper. Yeah, it's been a
Yeah, I
minute.
couldn't tell you what house he belongs to and
He
everything.
was in the Dorne.
That's right. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I forget the name of the house though.
They really did from what I understand, the house injustice in the TV show.
Oh,
They
no
made it off a
question.
lot weaker than it probably was. The family, the sisters are a lot more ruthless
Yeah.
in the books, from my understanding. But again, I really enjoy it. I think he's a fantastic actor. I again, there was a lot of backlash. I remember reading in the media at the time about that one episode. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was tasteful.
Hmm.
I didn't have a problem with it, and at the end of the day, it's good science fiction slash horror slash dystopian. It's fun, and
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm 6 episodes in, I'm about halfway through, and I'll
Gotcha.
I'll finish it up.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Very good. Very good. Very good. So
But go ahead. What are we talking about today? It's
today,
not it's not The Last of Us, and it's not True Detective.
right? Today we're talking about my Huckleberry or Berry. Tombstone. Tombstone. Now, this movie was a huge part of pretty much my teenage years. I love this film. 1993. Directing credit to George P. Cosmatos.
Now, I'm gonna throw this out there. He was not the one who was originally supposed to
Right.
direct the movie.
Right.
Do you know who was?
The writer.
Yes.
The writer. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think he was. To catch me up on this story here, because this is like Tombstone lore, like the
Okay.
production of this film. I don't know if you want to get into that, or should we talk a little bit about the movie first?
Let's talk about the lore first. We're already there, and
Let's
let's
do it.
not lose track of what we're doing here today. It's my understanding from what I've read. I guess it's all online, so whatever factual, I wasn't there. Factual inaccuracies come from online social media posts that I've read. Is that he had actually filmed some scenes for the movie involving the Cowboys, and that those scenes were eventually cut to shorten the film.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not sure why he was removed from the direction part, but this has to be one of the, as a scriptwriter myself, as an author myself, the one-liners in this film are just fantastic.
Oh, so good.
They're gold.
Yeah, so good. I can't help but think that. Yeah, the writers. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Kevin Jarre or Jarre. I can't help but think he was overwhelmed a bit, with this, the quality of the movie, the scope and the depth of what his script was, and trying to get that onto film without kind of falling behind. And, I correct me if I'm wrong. Now, I don't know if this was his first directing job. It may have been. I just can't help but think that he was a little bit overwhelmed with the whole thing.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. I don't have the answer for you on that. I don't know what else he's written.
Mhm.
Now, the rumor, of course, from the many social interviews that I've seen from the actors, right, wrong, and difference, is that Cosmatos. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna butcher.
I'm
his
sure
name.
we're butchering names left and right now.
It was not him who actually directed it because no one was listening to him on the film. It may have actually been Kurt Russell, but again, that's lore.
Right.
And according to Michael Biehn, I watched his interview several times. He says that they all kind of had a hand in directing this.
Yeah. Now,
So I don't know how much of that to
Michael
believe.
Bean. Again, this is just a lot of this stuff is out there, like you said, on the internet. Now, Michael Biehn was friends with the writer, and when he was removed from the film, Kevin Jarre, the writer, Michael Biehn stayed on, but I think reluctantly. Talk about like just a wild production, like and then to end up with allegedly Kurt Russell, saving the day with the edits and the cuts and the direction. Pretty good.
I might be wrong on this number, but I think in one of the interviews that I heard Michael Biehn talking, the scene with him and Doc Holliday in the saloon at the poker table, and he draws the pistol and he's doing the fancy wave of the hands with the pistol. That took him 2 months to learn to do.
Really, I believe it.
And I can't imagine going through 2 months of learning to do that, and then your buddy, the director, gets cut, and it's kind of like, well, am I just gonna sit here and not do it now? I mean, I mean, the guy's a talented actor, Michael Biehn.
Underrated, man. Super underrated actor.
Yeah,
He
it appears I'm having some difficulties on my end, but I guess you can still hear me.
but yeah, you're coming in loud and clear. We can power through it. But he's during that time, Michael Biehn, Terminator, and then Aliens, Abyss, you know, this guy was like, just he had such a sweet spot in that time frame. And then Tombstone, he plays a great hero, he plays a great villain, very much a versatile actor. But then you like won't even talk about like the cast of this movie.
It's definitely all star. I mean,
It's like movies like this, back then, 93. This movie was very much like a classic Hollywood Western, with the characters and the actors. It's got that classic Western feel to it. And then right around this time, I think a year later in 94 was the Costner Wyatt Earp movie, which, it's much more of a, from his younger days to, his older days, a good movie. But this movie, Tombstone, is very much just a classic Western. It hits everything you need from like an action movie, from Western. It's tremendous.
I'm more impressed with the overall scope of the cast. Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, Michael Rooker, even the guy from Wings who plays the Sandman in his name escapes me right now. I think it's Hayden also.
Oh, Thomas Hayden Church.
Hayden Church.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Sideways, great movie. I think it's one of my favorites.
Yes. Don't forget about Stephen Lang.
Oh,
Ike Clanton.
Oh, please.
Colonel
Amazing.
Quaritch.
just amazing. Even the guy who plays in The Stepfather, he plays the cowardly sheriff.
Yes.
I forget his name. I have it written down, but
Is it John Tenney?
not John Tenney.
And
then
yeah, I know you. You got Billy Bob Thornton popping up in a spot.
Oh, and then matter of fact, I was watching the end of the Alamo this week on social media, and man, just what a great actor he is.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say enough
Just
about Billy Bob.
It's wild. It's wild. The cast this Terry O'Quinn.
Oh, that's him, Terry O'Quinn. Yeah.
Terry O'Quinn. Billy Zane.
I forgot about Luke Perry.
Luke Perry.
Luke Perry.
And you have there's just the cameo, Charlton Heston popping up. Like it's
even
just,
the guy who does the narration is
Robert Mitchum. Robert Mitchum.
Oh, thank you.
But since you mentioned him, right? One of my favorite things about this movie is the opening scene of it, right? You get the old footage, old camera footage, either it's spliced old Western movie footage, and then you have the cowboy, shooting at the camera, and then boom, right into it. You have the cowboys. There they go riding across the desert,
Yep.
just it hits you with the music and the action, and you're off and running. It's such a great opening to a movie.
When I think of the movie and in the beginning of the movie, I think about the church scene.
Yeah.
And the rider was a pale
Mm-hmm.
on the horse was a pale rider, and the man who sat on him was death. And we've all heard that line several times. But in that movie, it was used correctly because Michael Bihn's character is quoting the priest at that point, who he had just shot and killed. So,
Your English
not
is
nice
worse than
people.
your Spanish.
Uh, and then you got everybody. They're dragging the bride into the church. And,
Yeah.
it was in their curly bills. Like when I come back through this town, it was very Magnificent Seven
You
oriented
knew
at that point.
that they meant business. You knew they were trouble, and there were a lot of them. And you knew when we got around to the heroes that they're going to have their hands full. They were just ruthless in that opening scene.
Now, I have to ask, because this movie has so many great lines. Again, we've been mentioning the Huckleberry line the entire time. What's your favorite line or scene of that entire movie? What's the one thing that stands out to you? You can even mention 2 or 3.
I mean, there's like there's scenes where the Billy Bob scene where he's at the faro table dealing, and Kurt Russell comes up and he just like flips a switch, and he's just hard as nails, and just intimidates him to a point where he's like just stuttering and stammering, like didn't know what to do. And that scene really was like, okay, this guy means business. And the lines he used in that scene,
and jerk that smoke wagon and go to work.
Yeah, yep. Are you gonna stand there and bleed? I mean, just Billy Bob, just like, and he was great in that role, that little bit of a role where he was just like didn't know what to do. And
hey, Doc, Wyatt just got us a roll in the card game, a stake in a card game.
Like, it's just, there's so many scenes like that with great acting and great dialogue. You look at any of the characters, they all have things they can chew on and just really do some great stuff with in this. Like, there's so many villains. They're all rich. They all have great characters. Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, it's like those two being the top two, but then you have the Ike Clanton and his brother, and they all get screen time. You know who they are, you know what they're about. But even the same for the Earp family and the brothers, which was great performances by the Sam Elliott. The one I will say this, the one performance that is absolutely cringeworthy to me in this movie is Bill Paxton.
Really?
I do not like
him.
I do not like Bill Paxton in this movie. But he comes off as just a very like
what do you think happens when you die, Wyatt?
Do you believe in God, Wyatt?
Dude, they say there's a bright light. Wyatt, they lied. There's no light.
I don't know. Out of all of the actors in this one, he, to me, like of the main cast, like he's the one that just doesn't seem, maybe it's just what he was given, but I just feel like he's coming off of like movies where, like, look at him in Aliens, right? Like, well, then you look at him in Tombstone and he's just kind of like this all shucks kind of little brother. And it was just, it's a little interesting, but he's not my favorite role in this movie. Considering everybody else kind of blows him out of the water. But
when I look at, and I remember the actual scene with Thomas Hayden Church and Ike Clayton, and Ike Clayton's I'm not armed, and
mm-hmm.
Doc's with the shotgun, and they're coming up and they're having the big fight at the OK Corral. And you can see the trepidation in Bill Paxton. He doesn't want to do any of this. He's never killed anybody.
Right.
This is not his forte.
Right.
And, Doc's got the entire thing under control. He's been in these kinds of situations before. And you can kind of tell that Val Kilmer's character portrays that.
Mm-hmm.
You're a daisy if you do.
Again, I got you.
The lines are great.
You son of a bitch.
And, and Bill Paxton's character is trying to raise the gun even though he's injured the entire time, and he's trying to shoot to try to save Doc, but Doc doesn't need saving. He's got it. You know, he's got this contained. So I think he did fine because he was supposed to play a more laid back role in the film.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
is
Listen, that's fair. That's fair.
Have a billiard role. If he wasn't playing billiards, he might not have taken the job to begin with. So we don't know.
I'm suffering from a hangover.
Even when they're filming the, this is more of a director, when they're filming the scene in the canteen, in the saloon where Doc and Michael Biehn's character, Johnny Ringo, are having the gun draw contest. They pan to Bill Paxton's character. It's not Sam Elliott's character they're panning to. It's not Powers Booth. It's Bill Paxton's character, and he's sweating, watching how fast these guys are. And then they kind of pan down to Kurt Russell, and he's underneath the table with the shotgun and the boomstick. And, but again, it's meant to convey the difference between the two brothers at that point, that the one's ready to draw down and go to work, and the other one's a little intimidated by what's going on and the scope of what they're kind of getting into.
That's a good assessment of that. Yeah, that's a good assessment. I don't really consider that. That is a good point. It's he if you look at it in that light, then he's really getting the job done. Because he's showing you, the viewer, like, this guy is, like you said, he's sweating. He's out of his element. Yeah.
Now, did you know? Again, maybe I'm. Of course, you know already. I'm not going to sit here and lie. At the end of the movie, the deathbed scene, Val Kilmer is actually laying on.
No, tell me.
Ice. The bed is actually filled with ice to try to make it convey, because he wanted to be shivering.
Okay.
When Kurt Russell's character comes over and he's trying to play cards, he's like, "No, please leave. I told you not to come back, and you won't be my friend if you stay here." He's actually laying and shivering in a bed full of ice. That's the lengths that Val Kilmer went for this role.
Interesting.
And I imagine he probably lost a ton of weight trying to prepare for the role.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know the exact amount, but I guarantee you it was a good amount.
And, like, he steals the movie. He just flat out steals this movie. To the point, like, you see his face on T-shirts. I'm your Huckleberry. Just a tremendous performance from Val Kilmer. And this really, I mean, he was around. He was in a lot of movies prior to this. But this one put him on the map, in my opinion. He was in Top Gun. That was a very high profile movie.
Oh, Top Secret.
I
mean, come on, I love that movie.
Yeah. And
The Saint. Was that The Saint?
That was after. That was after.
Yeah,
that was like mid '90s. Yeah.
The Batman way down, I guess.
Yeah, but this is probably his most well-known role, and like the man's just. Like, even if you don't like Westerns, watch this movie. If you like good acting, you're going to get a lot of it. You're going to get a lot of good lines. But Val Kilmer's top notch.
Well, now I disagree. We started a dance and we didn't get to finish. In case you didn't know, he's talking to Johnny Ringo at the end. But we'll get to all that. And we'll get to kind of what's factual and what's not. Because I have a little game we're going to play. And
nice.
Basically, I'm going to take some scenes from the movie, and I'm going to say, did they really happen the way that it's portrayed in the movie? And we'll see. So the first is Curly Bill.
Mm-hmm.
He murders Fred White out in the street.
Mm-hmm.
Fred White dies. How accurate do you think that scene is?
I'm sure there's a little bit of embellishment for the sake of the movie, but I know this is like a historical kind of point of contention. Did he do the little road agent spin? Did he not do it? What happened? For the sake of the movie, I mean, I'm sure they took some creative liberty with some of it. As far as a factual accounting of it, I'm not sure. Do you have an answer on that?
I'm not going to give you a question without having the answer here. So I've got the answers to all this. So the little bit of research that I've done, again, internet is
It's
basically
your
it.
friend.
Well, it's not my friend. I think it could be altered, but that's another story. That's paranoia. I guess what's not in dispute, though, is that Fred White didn't die immediately on that street. He actually died, like lingered dying for weeks, days or weeks. In fact, remember from the movie, I can't believe the Curly Bill got off. He ain't gained time. Sam Elliott's mad. And Wyatt's like, just leave it alone.
Yep.
Nobody witnessed this. Fred White actually testified, saying it was an accidental misfire that Curly Bill had.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
So the sheriff, the guy he killed, is saying no, it was a complete accident. This happened. It should not have gone down that way, and he needs to be let go. And of course, they don't explain that in the movie. That hey, the guy he shot, probably deserves to go to not go to jail, and that's the reason why. Because of course, it's the point of we're angry, we're frustrated about this.
It makes a good plot point to move the story along. That's interesting.
So the next one is, and I hate this scene in the movie, the Wyatt Earp scene where they're in the big shootout over the reservoir with Curly Bill.
Okay. No.
I hate that line.
No.
I just
say it with me.
No. No. No more. So, Wyatt Earp was actually a bit of a liar. He would tell stories that embellish his own reputation. And it's a point of dispute that he was even the one who killed Curly Bill. So, allegedly Curly Bill retired, according to his gang members, and left. Now, I find that hard to believe that he would just pick up and go to Texas or wherever he was going. But apparently, Wyatt Earp said, no, I killed him and I buried him in a grave. A newspaper ended up offering $5,000 to whoever, I think it was $5,000 or $1,000 to whoever could produce Curly Bill's body, dead or alive. Nobody claimed it. Either way.
Interesting.
Now, Wyatt Earp later in life was broke. He was doing boxing events, and he got labeled a cheater, and he was trying to promotion at the time because he was trying to make money. All the ex-wives really kind of mounted up, I guess. But, the gambling, too, I'm sure. I mean, let's face it, he would go to boomtown, and you think law enforcement paid it, probably didn't. So even he couldn't claim that money. So the Cowboys couldn't bring him alive, and Wyatt Earp couldn't bring him in dead. So we actually don't know how Curly Bill died.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So, Johnny Ringo. Johnny Ringo did not actually speak Latin. That scene where, again, I think it's famous, is I don't know if I hate him. Oh, it appears Mr. Ringo is an educated man. Now I really hate him. I don't know. He reminds me of me. Yeah. So he might have been educated, but not to the point where he could speak Latin. So the next question I have is this. Did Doc Holliday, do you think he killed Johnny Ringo?
There's talk, isn't it kind of, people consider that Ringo committed suicide? Isn't that kind of the lore on that?
100% correct. So they say that he would often talk about suicide. He had a very depressed mentality. I guess he did a lot of killing, and he wasn't very happy with his outlook in his life. So again, this is all the internet. This is speculation because no one's actually really sure. No one was there. A horse farmer comes up to the spot where, of course, Johnny Ringo is dead. There's no horse around. He appears to have fallen off his horse because I guess his leg was broken or busted up. And half of the back of his head was missing. And the pistol was in his hand. Now, whether that was somebody shooting him or him committing suicide, The one thing that is not in dispute, though, is that Doc Holliday was not even in the territory at the time.
Yeah.
He was actually out of state. So it was definitely not Doc Holliday who killed Johnny Ringo,
Yeah.
regardless of what Kurt Russell and everybody else say. But again, it's still a great movie.
Listen, you got to make the movie entertaining.
And
The main bad guy
it is.
falling off the horse and then committing suicide, just it's not going to have that same effect as, Doc Holliday doing the honors.
I have to agree with that. I have to agree with that. Now, do you think, and it's just me, I don't know. I mean, I don't remember her being referred to this. You remember Doc Holliday's girlfriend in the movie?
Big Nose Kate.
Ah, you already ruined it for me. I was
Uh-oh.
gonna say, do you remember her moniker or her nickname? And for the life of me, I guess she does her job pretty well because you really can't say a bad thing about her performance, but she didn't have a big nose in the movie, so I was like, I don't know. I sit there and I go back and forth with it, and
Yeah.
but I mean I couldn't imagine being called bald ass Christopher. That just that might stick now, so I should shut my mouth. And it's follically challenged. Remember, follically challenged, Christopher, not. All right, Hayden, just remember that.
Got it. And noted.
You want to talk about Stephen Lang's character in this movie?
Oh, man. Ike Clan. Now, I can't help but when I look at the Ike Clanton stuff from this movie and Jeff Fahey from the Costner one, and I feel like both casting choices were awesome for the role. And like Stephen Lang, to talk specifically there about him, I mean, he's great. He's great. We don't do law dog. Just he's so good in those roles where they're building up the tension, and he's got a problem with the Earps, and him and Virgil, Sam Elliott almost come to blows, in the was it the Oriental? Is that where they were?
Yep.
It's great. He's just he's in your face. He's rude. He's crude. He's just hateable character in this movie. And he does it so well that, like, as an actor, you gotta, like, these guys were probably like, oh my God, I get to play this villain. I'm going to crush this. This is going to be awesome. I like, this is great. I don't have any morals. I'm just going to be just evil, right? I'm just going to be a bad guy, part of a gang, Western. I'm going to eat this alive. And he did it. He's so good in it. And like you said, the scene where they're at the OK Corral and he's pleading for his brother's life. That's like probably the most compassion that he's does in this entire movie. And it's like, it's believable, right? Like you have a sibling, you have a brother, you can understand him, and you like the look on his face is terror because he kind of is like, I know what's going to happen here, and it's my brother's over there. Like if that was your brother or if it was my brother, you'd be like the same way, like, please stop. So like you get all kinds of different looks from him, with that, just the ready for, I want blood, you got a fight coming, to the no, please. I thought he was great. I thought he was great. What do you think?
I think he's one of the most underrated actors. And speaking of that shootout at the OK Corral, the evidence suggests that Ike Clayton did not take any gun and start shooting at them from behind. He actually got about 2 blocks away before he took a rifle off of somebody. So he definitely ran and tried to skedaddle out of there, that's for sure. But, I mean, I look at his body of work, and the first movie I remember seeing him in before he got really famous was The Hard Way. Great movie.
Yep.
James Woods, Michael J. Fox. I mean, you remember watching it back when we were in college.
Yep.
The Party Crasher.
Yep.
And he's there's a little nut job in that movie,
Yep.
and then you watch him in Gettysburg, and
Yep.
you watch him what was the movie where he plays the Bond guy who goes around killing people?
Oh
And
yeah,
then Avatar.
See No Evil, Avatar. Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, just one of the most underrated actors in my opinion.
Yes.
And for a guy who's probably into his late 60s or 70s, at
70s,
this
I think.
point,
Yeah.
he is just probably in better shape. You kick my ass and your ass
Yeah,
today.
dude's tremendous shape. Yeah, for his
I mean,
age. He was showing
the
off in
guy just
Avatar.
keeps moving. It's
So
amazing.
James, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rack this bench press. All right, so just keep putting plates on it,
Yeah.
and then when you zoom in, just get my arms.
Have to agree, 100% there.
Yeah, he crushed it, man, and it's like I don't even know if you would say like unrecognizable. Like you could recognize him in it, but they're so dirty and grimy and sweaty that like you almost can lose. Okay, that's Stephen Lang, right? You know, like he's there, but you know they're just like with the costumes and the grit and the grime and that's another thing. Like they all grew their mustaches, right? There's no, they didn't use like fake mustache. They all grew them out for this movie, right? That's like one of the production lore on this. Everybody grew their own mustache. They didn't have to wear like a glue-on mustache. They put everybody
Now-
to shame.
I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Powers Booth. Has he ever played a good guy in anything? I mean, I
Oh,
can't
man.
remember that he ever has.
You know, that's a good question. That's a good question, and I don't
Give me his
know.
film. Give me his film history. I mean,
I'm going to pull it up right now.
What was the movie he did with Van Damme, where the ice skating ring?
Sudden Death. Yeah.
Thank you. Not a great movie. It was fun to watch, but Powers Booth, I think, did a really nice job in that
Yeah.
movie. I mean, a lot better than Van Damme, in my opinion. So,
Man,
you
it's
got the history?
let me read some of these. All right.
We'll see if he ever played a good guy. I mean, I'm guessing not, but I could be wrong.
The Goodbye Girl, 1977. I'm not familiar.
Uh,
Cruising, 1980. I'm not familiar. Let me get to Red Dawn.
Wasn't
He was in Red
by,
Dawn.
Good guy in Red Dawn. Yeah,
Yeah,
great role too. I mean, that was
Lieutenant Colonel Andy Tanner. Let's see. Emerald Forest. I don't know that. Extreme Prejudice. What was that? What kind of movie is that? Neo-Western action thriller starring Nick Nolte and Powers Booth.
sounds like he was the bad guy.
It was
I mean, I'm guessing at that.
it was Nick Nolte's best friend from high school. That's who he played.
Oh.
Whether he was a bad guy, it sounds like it.
Yeah, I don't think so with that, but okay.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a Western, but okay.
So let's just skip ahead. Sudden Death. Nixon. Con
Good
Air,
movie.
he was uncredited voice. U-Turn. He's the sheriff.
Really?
Sheriff Virgil
U-Turn.
Potter. I don't remember him in that movie, but
I think I have to go back and rewatch
I have to
that.
watch that one. Men of Honor. He was the Captain Pullman. I don't
I was gonna say,
remember.
that's the one with Robert De Niro, right?
De Niro and Cuba Gooding Jr.
And Cuba Gooding, yeah.
Frailty.
Probably played a prick, yeah.
Frailty.
Oh, that's right.
That's a good movie. Frailty. Yeah.
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton, yeah.
Yeah.
I
And again, a bad guy, though.
a bad guy. Yep.
Great bad guy. Matthew McConaughey brings him in, and he's telling the whole story.
Yeah. Sin City. Bad guy.
Bad guy, yep.
MacGruber. I'm
That's
sure he
anything
played the
with that
bad
movie
guy
is-
in that movie.
Yeah.
The Avengers, he was that council guy who was kind of a jerk. And Sin City 2014 reprised his role. Deadwood, he was kind of a jerk. Yeah, the man like made a career out of being a bad guy.
Can't say he was typecast, though. I mean, he certainly was very good at what he did.
He was
I mean,
really good at it. Yeah.
talk about all those roles. I mean, if you were in 3 or 4 of those movies in your career, you know,
Yeah.
that was a big thing.
Yeah.
And he's in 10 or 11 movies that are really, I mean, again, even if they were bit parts or not lead characters, I mean, he was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he's one of those like unsung guys that like, you have your like collection of actors that you're like, oh man, he's in this, I'm gonna watch this movie. Like you have Powers Booth, Michael Ironside, like those type of guys. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna watch this. Michael Ironside, he's in a ton of movies, and you're just like, he's awesome. I love Michael Ironside. Remo Williams, he's another one of that. Like when he pops up, oh, he's in Tremors. Fred Ward.
Yeah, Fred Ward. Yeah.
Like he's another one of those guys. That,
Miami Blues is a great movie.
Yeah. Like, so you have your little collection of actors like, oh, there's that one. I'm going to watch this movie. Or that one I'm going to watch. Oh, he's in this. This is going to be good. Powers Booth was one of those guys.
Yeah, I have to agree. Now, I've already kind of touched on this, but what other scenes stuck out to you in this movie? Because again, it's so much more than just the scene at the Oriental.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to the stage where they're sitting there watching the theater scene. Which again, in that entire theater wasn't even put up until after Wyatt Earp left in real life. But
that scene it's great. It's great, but like there's so many like that. There's the OK Corral scene, the scene where Virgil was putting up the ordinances for the town. Fred White getting shot. It's just, there's so many of those high level scenes in this movie that, in lesser movies, it's just like, oh God, just let me skip through this. This movie, you don't want to. You want to, like, when you go to rewatch this movie, there's nothing to skip. You're going to watch the whole thing, start to finish. Like I could think of 50 movies where I'm going to skip this part, I'm going to skip this part. Tombstone, there's none of that. There's none of that. And like when you get to the montage of the vengeance ride at the end, like you're like, oh yeah, man, get them all. Like it's awesome. It's awesome.
Now I have to ask, where do you put this in terms of westerns made in the last, let's just say since 1985?
I mean, this has got to be top 3.
Okay.
I mean, maybe
Is
Unforgiven.
Number 2?
I mean, like your top ones, you're going to be what? Like Unforgiven. It's going to be Tombstone and, I mean, like, see, like you've got like other movies that maybe are not like critically great, but ones I like 310 to Yuma, An Open Range. But this
like Open Range, and I'm sorry, the gunfight at the Open Range at the end was pretty good.
It's a lot of build up to get there,
and it's not very much action.
It's slow, a lot of slow, very slow.
Yeah.
The gunfight is the highlight.
Right.
But
I mean, we haven't even mentioned Dances with Wolves.
Yeah, Dances with Wolves. I mean, like, there's like listen, I'm a huge fan of the westerns. Like, I love the Denzel Magnificent Seven, right? I love that movie. Say what you will about it, I've rewatched that movie so many times since it came out. It's nuts, but I'm like a western junkie. Give me westerns all day long.
My favorite western is one that we haven't even mentioned. But it has even more one-liners, I think, than maybe even Tombstone. And again, it's not a popular opinion, and it's not the first in the series either. It's number 2, Young Guns 2.
Oh yeah,
love that movie, and it's just
the second one's better. The second one's a better movie. I
think it's funner. I think it's a lot more.
It is.
There's a lot less, a lot levity, and even though Kiefer Sutherland tries to bring that, that seriousness into it,
it's
Emilio Estevez. It's just like, we'll take the Mexican, Blackbird.
Yeah, brushy build. Yeah, that one. Like as good as the first one was, like you're right. The second one felt like everybody was having fun on that movie, and you're right. Yeah, Young Guns too. Like again, a movie that may not be critically praised, but man, what a fun movie to watch, especially for Western. So yeah, that's a good one too. But where do you put Tombstone on that rankings?
unpopular opinion, again, if I went to 1, 2, and 3 since 1985 only,
Hmm.
because again, Magnificent Seven's up there. You got the Clint Eastwoods, like the Outlaw Josie Wales, and the trio of movies that he made as the unnamed character, and the Italian westerns that
Well,
Eastwood did, which are all great.
those
I mean,
predate 85 though. Those are 70s,
yeah, but I'm
60s.
just
Yeah.
look, you could go Silverado too, which again, it's okay, but
Mm.
not. I mean, it's not memorable. I hate to say that like that.
It's
It's
not.
just not.
It's not. Yeah.
I would have to go. Again, this is my opinion, so don't drag me out by my eyebrows. Uh, Young Guns 2, Tombstone, and then probably Dances with Wolves.
Okay. That's good.
As an opinion.
That's a good list. That's a good list. That's a good list. But I'm sure if you ask a lot of people, you're going to get Tombstone in like top 3. That one more than an Unforgiven, more than Dances with Wolves, because of just how awesome it is, right? And it's accessible. It's not a movie where you got to sit and maybe like, oh, like I'm going to miss a lot of plot points. You know what it is. You know what it is. Like it's the brothers and it's the cowboys, right? And there's conflict, and then that carries the story, right? It's nothing deep. And I think for that reason, it has that rewatchable value. It has that mainstream appeal. Plus the great acting and the great actors that are in it. Like honestly, it's a movie made in 93, but it could easily have been made in the 50s just for the... Oh, I think we lost. Let me get him back in here real quick.
I'm here.
You're back. Okay. But it's like a movie that, like it's like a classic Hollywood Western film. It has that feel. It has that pedigree. Like you watch other Western films, they don't feel exactly like Tombstone does. Tombstone, it really feels like a 50s classic Western. Like a big Hollywood Western. What do you think? But yeah, if you look at those different types of, you poll different people, you're going to get a different opinion. But I tend to think that, you're going to have Tombstone in those top groups a lot more often than those other types of films, But we'll wait for Christopher to join us back. Looks like he had a little bit of an issue. But those are movies that I grew up with and I love, and they you can't beat a Western for me. Christopher, you're back.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worries.
That.
We're good. We're rolling. We're rolling.
So, at this point, we both love the movie, but I have one last question before we go on to the rest of the show. And that question is what role do you think the TBS constant re-airing of this movie plays in its popularity? And what I mean by that is the movie Shawshank Redemption, great movie, one of the all-time probably best. It has to be up there, 10 best movies of all time, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Does it benefit from its constant re-airing on TBS, where people can now sit down in the younger generation and rewatch it? And again, like you were saying, not have to be stuck on, oh, okay, I came in late to this movie, and what's this movie about? And get stuck on these plot points. Shawshank really didn't take off till it hit TBS, and all these people started watching it on broadcast television and being like, wow, this movie's so great, I have to watch it unedited to see what I missed.
Mm-hmm.
And what degree do you think it gained in popularity as a result of that?
I think I agree with you with Shawshank, because the first time I saw Shawshank, and I really start to finish, was on TBS. And, I could say this, I watched it, I thought nothing of it prior to that viewing, right? I didn't even consider it when it was in the theaters, right? So here it is on TBS. I'm watching this. Wow, this is a good movie. I'd love to see this again. And this is, we predate, well, I'm just going to record it on the DVR. So you got to wait till it shows up again on 7 p.m. on next Thursday or the weekend. So you make an appointment to watch it. Let me watch it again. All right, here we go. And, that had great benefit for me because this is a movie that I never considered. And it's a great movie. That same effect, I think you could say for Tombstone. I think that's fair to say that, as many times as it gets aired on those stations. It's always has a detriment effect because you see Shawshank is on more than A Christmas Story is in the week that Christmas Story is on. So I don't know, like, if they overkill it a little bit, but I feel like the Western genre is like, modern movies, it's a dead genre. You may get 2 or 3 Westerns a year that are, big Hollywood Western movies or big budget Western movies. So, like for me, if I'm going channel flipping and I see any Western, Magnificent Seven gets a lot of play on like one of these stations too, even Paramount, TNT, whatever. I stop and I watch it because that's something. It's right up my alley, right? For Shawshank, I don't know, like it's not an action movie. It's a great drama. It's a little bit of a thriller. It's a great story. But if you're looking for like action, some shoot 'em up, some great dialogue, I think it plays a benefit. But you always run the risk of overkill when as much as these stations just play these things.
Fair enough. So we're going to break for commercials now, and the first commercial is from author Christopher Michael Blake, and talking about his book, Pyramid of the Parasite. So, essentially, the world's oldest pyramid is found in North America, and as they're getting ready to send a research team in, they find out some kids have been trapped inside. It now becomes a rescue mission, and once inside the pyramid, the research team is exposed to the parasite, an alien entity older than time itself.
And we'll get Christopher back here in just a second. Pick up these books. Read them, folks. They're good. They are good.
You ready to retry that commercial?
And we're back.
You ready to retry that commercial?
Listen, I'm plugging your books while you're gone, just so you notice.
Oh, no. Hey,
I said, hey, read these books.
Your nose is grown. But look, Pyramid of the Parasite. World's oldest pyramid is found in North America, and as we're getting ready to send a research team in to investigate, some kids get lost inside, and it now becomes a rescue mission where the team's exposed to an alien entity known as the Parasite, who is the ability to ingest itself into one of the research members. And as the research members begin knocked off one by one, you begin to find out that the parasite will do anything to escape and to get back out to the world, into the community. It becomes the world's greatest threat. Pyramid of the Parasite by Christopher Michael Blake, author of The Cape May Murders and Pray for Dawn. Is your business looking for an affordable way to gain and attract new clients? Real Geek Media and Entertainment is now offering sponsorships on their podcast and website. What's that? Your business can't afford a sponsorship? No problem. Consider running an advertisement during one of our podcast shows. Advertising starts as low as $50. That's right, just $50. Visit realgeekmedia.com. Click on the links for Sponsor Us, Advertise with Us, or Donate Here to get started. Again, that's www.realgeekmedia.com. So, I have to ask, before we get into the next section, did you look at
and we'll have Christopher back in just a moment. Some technical difficulties tonight, folks, but we'll get those under control. So if anybody, there's got to be a lot of Western fans out there. Come on, guys. I know we like them. I know I like them. All right.
Get over this.
And there he is. Back in business.
Frozen.
That's all
I
right.
feel like,
It's a
I feel like
musical. Frozen's
I
a
feel like
musical.
Anna and Elsa.
There you go. Break into song.
No, you don't want that.
Let it go, Christopher. Let it
Yeah,
go.
I've let it go. So, were you able to look at? See, there we go with the camera locked in again.
Yep. There
One more
we go.
time.
We're back. There he is.
So, a couple weeks ago, we sat down and we did our movie projections. Did you have to look at how those movies did?
I did not look too deeply at it because I kind of wanted to be surprised tonight.
Once again,
Clear cut winner.
we had yes, but there's some prizes. So last time, if you remember, I went like 3-1.
Yes.
This time, Hayden, you
Oh,
went 3-1.
oh, you're gonna have to hand the belt over to me.
There's no belt. Believe me.
Not yet.
You can't afford one with the show. Okay?
Not yet. Listen, we'll get a
Maybe
little
we can
plastic
get
one.
Look, somebody's got to sponsor that. They can put their name up on there. And we can, McDonald's right here.
There you go. The
Da-da-da-da-da.
McDonald's Championship.
That's right. Only $1 for a show.
We got to talk to
for a
AMC.
Coke. So let's start with Night Swim, the horror movie that came out. It was PG-13. I said 5.7 million opening weekend. You said 11 million opening weekend. The actual total was, this amazed me, 12 million.
No kidding.
So you were like real close. That was about as close as we got
Interesting.
for any of these.
Interesting.
Beekeeper, again.
Yep.
I said 9.1 million. You said 15. Survey said
I probably killed
16.5.
16.5. Wow.
You were you were close. I mean, I
Wow.
could have sworn that you were going to be off on that one.
Wow.
I was like, there's no way this is going to do over 10 million. And it did. So, again, 16.5.
Wow.
Mean Girls. You said 8 million.
Yeah.
I said 15. Apparently, neither of us have a future in show business. 28 million opening weekend. Wow.
That was the big
28
one,
million.
huh? Wow.
That's the only one I wanted.
But
by
you
the
know
way.
what, though? You were right about that movie because you said this is going to be the big one. It's going to be some people are going to take, their kids to. And you were right. You were right.
Well, Wonka's still cleaning up. I mean, it's just outrageous. Yeah. But the last film, if you remember, was that independent movie, Mayhem. That's right, Mayhem. Which I guess you said 100K. I said 50K. I did come closer, but I didn't count it as a win because it actually only did. It looks like 6,000 domestic.
Right. Nice. I wonder what the budget was.
I'm sure it did better international.
Oh yeah, it probably did.
I think international. I think it made like 1.5 million.
Okay.
Which again is pretty good for an international movie.
Sure.
Sure. So this week.
All right.
I have 3 movies.
What you got?
None are as exciting as Mayhem. I can promise you that. I'm not lying. It's a list. It's a who's list of movies I will not see. And the first, and the only one I've even heard of that's been promoted is Argyle.
Argyle.
And you know what movie I'm talking about here. Basically, it's the author who has these fantasies. Mm-hmm. And I think Dua Lipa's in it. And she's dancing with, who's the muscle guy?
Superman.
Yes, basically, yes. And that's part of the fantasy. And it looks like a bunch of garbage to me. But
I'm trying to find this movie.
Exactly.
It's
Nobody wants to
it's
see
a
this.
spy comedy action movie,
romance.
Right?
Yeah,
now, Matthew Vaughn is the director. Now, I don't know if you're familiar too much with him. No. This is the Kingsman franchise. The X-Men kind of reboots, that First Class, Days of Future Past, Kick-Ass, the original.
I like Kick-Ass.
I don't know if you've ever seen Layer Cake.
That was good.
Okay, good director. But I feel like there's no buzz for this thing at all. Like, the trailer didn't sell me on it. It looks goofy. it has a decent cast. And the movie's probably going to be pretty